Hi, everybody. This is Tom with Culture Chap. So, today I want to talk to you about staying within your budget. Now, if you're directing a show and you have a bunch of departments working for you, it is their job to stay in budget. And some directors feel that all their job is the vision and giving everyone directions and yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. It's more than that. It's checking in with your teams and saying, is that within budget? We don't want to overspend the budget because a lot of shows come out with costumes spent a little more than they should, set spent a lot more than they should. Now we have to do additional specialty makeup, and that costs more than we thought because we weren't expecting it. And on and on and on. So you, as the director, become the person who spent more than they should have on the show, even though what you did was stay in budget as far as you knew. All these numbers came out at the end. It's difficult. But checking in with your teams is essential, quite a bit. Now, a lot of people can get very grandiose dreams about their show, and they have a budget and they intend to stick with it, but then, oh, well, why can't I stick another costume in? Why can't I do another this? Why can't I do another that? Oh, the paint was dull. Let's add more gold. When that gold is being applied on a new piece of lumber that's going up, and you know, it's the little things that trip you up. It's the unexpected things that trip you up. So you want to get your people to stay well under budget. So if it's 100 pounds, tell them to aim for 90. Okay? Hopefully your show is spending more than 90 pounds. But that's just an example. If your show costs 10,000 euros, try to get your departments to take their budgets and keep it at, you know, at least 10% under that. That sounds harsh, doesn't it? Maybe 5% under that is where you need to be. You also need to talk to your theater and see if they go over budget, which I'm telling them not to. How bad is that? I think these days, with the economic downturn and public not spending as much money as they want on tickets, not coming to as many shows, which is global. This is a global problem, that you shouldn't take risks at all. Now, there's a number of things that we see every day that are under budget or stuck to their budget. If you look at the TV show Schitt's Creek, the Canadian show, not a big budget. Not at all. It's a great looking show. And if you start to dissect the show, like, oh, well, the people of the show is about are very rich or were once very rich. But they wear ridiculous clothes. So a lot of those clothes were on sale. A lot of those clothes were pulled from other clothes or borrowed from other people, whether other companies, other TV shows, that kind of thing. You also, the idea of costume, especially going over budget, is a bad one. They need several pairs of shoes. Do they? Do they really? They need several pairs of this. Well, it's the next day. They would have a whole different outfit. Well, do they? Maybe the same suit that man's wearing could have a radically different shirt and a very different scarf and perhaps a different hat. And then you've ripped out quite a bit of overspending from your budget. The same with the set. What can you borrow from other theaters? You may not want to, but it may be essential. What can you pull from home? What can you find at a charity shop that you can refurbish? Does the set need as much stuff as you are thinking about when maybe you can get away with cheaper stuff? There's lots of things that we did as kids in craft classes. I'm often reminded of a thing I asked someone to do. In a play, I said they need to go through this basket of bottles, and they're metallic bottles. Now, there's going to be one metallic bottle they pull out of the thing, and that will be the one that is the prop. And they said, oh, how can we buy that many? I'm like, don't buy them, make them. Just take wine bottles and cover them with brown paper with glue like you did in kindergarten, and then paint it with metallic colors. The sound can come from other things in the basket that these metallic bottles are hitting each other. That metal sound and the metal bottle they come out with is the only one in that basket. And you've gone through your recycling and just pulled out wine bottles It doesn't matter what the labels are because you're covering them with paper, crinkly brown paper, and painting it metallic colors or aging it up. Cheap, cheap, cheap. Cheap. Cheap is the key word here. You never know what you can achieve with your budget. Now, when it comes to actors, you need to pay your actors well. But in some of these shows you're doing, do you need 20 people that all have a wage? Can you double up in some of those parts? You may not want to, but it may be a necessity. Some of those smaller parts in the beginnings or the endings can be other people. I'm always saying in Shakespeare plays, like, oh, there's such a massive army, and then blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, the ladies in waiting that you see in the later scenes were part of the massive army. Those women dressed as men for that initial fight scene, cutting down on the number of actors in the show. Actors should get paid what they're worth, definitely. But you will be surprised at the kind of skills and the kind of changes you can do with wigs that are in stock, costumes that are in stock. A lot of these, why would the women be in a fight scene? Because they have the training. They can do it. You never know what actors can do until you train them. So cutting down on your casts to a manageable size and still paying them what they're worth cuts down on your budget. There's all kinds of amazing things you can do to stay in budget. And the last thing I want to say is theaters. I run into a few of you that don't communicate the budget. You give these random numbers that are quite large gaps between the numbers. Only spend 1,000. Well, keep it less than 5,000. Well, what do you mean? Is it 1,000 or 5,000? Come to the middle, whatever you do. I think a lot of you are getting upset when you get caught spending more than you were supposed to by your board. You're like, oh, the director, oh, the designers, oh, the this. Don't pass the buck, don't pass the pound. You're the one in charge of that. You're the producer, you're the theater. Tell them, I only have 1,000. I know I said maybe 5,000. I only have 1,000. That's the safe thing. What can you do? And directors, choreographers, designers, stop crying when you hear that. Cut down on things, spend on quality stuff. Have less costumes per show. Have less this, that, and the other. Borrow more set pieces, borrow more props. A lot of us aren't borrowing enough. We should make friends with those other theaters that you consider competition because they're not competition. They are your friends, they're in the industry too, and then they can borrow from you. I'm a little passionate about this topic because there's so many people that overspend, and there's less communication about just how bad that is for your particular theater. Be the people who never overspend, who always stay within budget. And when you're bidding on new shows, when you're advertising yourself for whatever you do, whether you're a producer, a director, a costume designer, tell them, I stay within budget. This is very important. Tell them, I stay within budget. Here was the budget I was told on this. If you hear different, I'm going to have a talk with them. Be serious about it because you stuck within budget. In fact, you came in slightly under budget. This is very important. Believe me. All right. Thanks for listening. Like and subscribe, and we'll talk again. All right.